Welcome to Talk of the Tatnam, where we the supporters get the chance to talk to the players, coaches and backroom staff of Poole Town Football Club. In this episode we speak to director and shareholder Andy Rossiter. In this turbulent season, Andy tells us about the day-to-day running of a non-league football club, the reasons behind the sacking of Tom Killick and the future of Poole Town Football Club.
Hi Andy, how are you doing?
I'm very good, how are you?
Yes, very good. Good evening, Alex.
Oh, it's been a while since we've done one of these.
Can I just say what a wonderful game at Wimborne last night. We put out a side there, didn't we? That we didn't. We thought stood a good chance, but bearing in mind Wimborne beat Weymouth under 23s and handsomely, to be fair. And I thought our boys did a fantastic job. A combination of the first team and majority of the under 23s. Talented boys.
How strong was their team? Was Wimborne's team? I didn't.
I think they put a fair number. I think they rested quite a fair number of their first team as well. But when you've got a squad of, including your under 23s of 30, there at Wimborne, one would have thought they might have won. But it was a very good competitive game played by both sides, and I thought it was pretty good.
I think they.
Did you both go?
No, neither of us went.
No, I was not feeling my best self yesterday. Put it that way. I had an incident with a fruit, and we'll just leave it at that.
Wasn't banana? No.
It was, but we're not even going to go down that road.
Okay.
It was the Wimborne side. I did have a look at it, and there was some names that I recognised, and some that obviously part of the youth setup. And I think, looking at it, I think you can clearly tell that Wimborne, with the biggest respect to Wimborne, I think they're going for that title, aren't they? As much as the Dorset Senior Cup is appealing for them, they're purely focused on the league, in my opinion. And why wouldn't you be? Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I mean, they did show up to play Weymouth, didn't they? So yeah. I don't know really, but it's one of I gave full marks to them. I was talking to their president last night and staff, and they're all buoyed with this season, delighted for them. And if we're in the same league next season, we'll be playing each other. If we're in the same league,
they're doing well, aren't they? They're bound to go up, aren't they?
I would have thought they would, yeah. But funny old thing. Football's a funny old thing, as we all know.
They're 4 points clear now, I think. Guy who I work with is a Wimborne Town fan, so the office is quite heated sometimes, which is always fun. Yeah.
And I think Frome go there the last game of the season as well, don't they? Or their last home game. Frome go there, so it'll be interesting. It's 4 points. The problem with their league and ours is only the first place goes up, don't they? And if you slip up a couple of games, you can be in trouble.
Yeah.
I was going to start with talking about today's news. So this is recording on the 13th of March, just for reference. You had some news today, a couple of pieces in news. The new ground stuff we'll discuss a bit later on. But you've got some potentially good news about the pitch, or some work that's going to be done on the pitch.
Yeah. So,
tell us about that.
Yeah, so with a great help from volunteers and so forth, and Benny Gould, John White, and Liam, his foreman, providing labour and so forth. We're going to sort that bottom end out. We've got a plan, and Benny being a bit of a drains expert, we think, and having talked to the FA and taken advice and looked at previous drawings, we've come up with a credible plan that we think will help drain that bottom end. It's just that bottom quarter, as Alex will confirm, and yourself, John, when you've been down there. It's just that bottom right-hand corner that needs to drain better. And we think we've got a plan. It's going to cost a few bob, but it costs a few bob not having matches on. So it's important that we focus on that on the first week of May. Benny's drawing up a plan at the moment, what needs to be done, what materials we need, and etc. And we will kick off straight away, because it'll be a 10, 12-week process. So we'll be able to kick off at hopefully our first home game, or our first game could be away, to suit that. But it'll take all that of May, June, and July to get the pitch ready.
And obviously, it's going to be fairly major. I know I think the last few seasons, there's been some sort of work.
John, this is much more extensive. We're putting in about 8 new drains across the bottom. Without going into too much technical detail, but approximately every 8 meters, there will be a drain that runs diagonally from the middle of the pitch to one side and one the other side, for the other side, and big drains. So we will be able to access those through manhole covers, etc., and make sure they're kept clear. And we think that will do the trick. And it's just a question of getting that water off quickly. You can't prevent water, and the only other thing to do is to spend 20 to 30 grand on rain and frost covers, which is not an impossible idea. But let's try the drains first, which I suppose if we were paying for everything would be anything up to 50 to 75,000 quid to do it. But it's got to be done because we can't have another year like this year. I know people say it's been 130 years since we've had such a wet winter. But from an income point of view, from the club's point of view, players' wages, the players still need to be paid even though they didn't play. So, it's important we get games on. You can cope with 2 or 3 postponements, but you can't cope with 13 or 14. Just go and look over at Dalton, where I would say they're very close to going out of business, but if they get a run of games, they'll be okay. But
I meant to put this on the sheet, so forgive me if this blindsided you a little. But what's the sort of kind of phrase when sort of squeaky bum time? When you sort of see, I mean, obviously one postponement here or there. Is it sort of 3 or 4 in a row when you go, oh shit? Like I remember a couple of seasons ago playing home games at Dorchester. When do you sort of really feel?
I think this year it came in October, November time. Because we had such a bad run, that it came to the point there where I had to put the money in to pay the wages, and that's been the same all the way through till present day. Now we're going to run of games, and that's fine, and that's a sort of financial support that perhaps fans don't appreciate. That the wage bill is in excess of 15,000 a month, maybe closer to 20. And it has to be met. And if you're not any games, as Taunton are finding out, you can't do it. So it's a big financial responsibility, and overall, if you look at gate receipts and income from the fans and bars and secondary spends and so forth, it probably makes up about 35-40% of what's needed. So. There are those of us, and Richard Gale and myself, who are the principal owners of the club, share-wise, end up supporting the club financially, and happy to do that if we know there's a game plan and a new stadium and there's something at the end of it.
Yeah. Can I ask this? You might not want to give an exact figure, but what do you expect to sort of bring in on a match day?
I think Pippa's the best one to ask on that, but I think normally we look at she looks after the book, but 3 to 4 grand on a good day, 5 on a New Year's Day. Yeah. On New Year's Day, sometimes it's 8,000-9,000 because it's. I think we missed that one this year, albeit being on the Saturday, we still missed a big payday, and you can't get those back. What will help now is obviously we got about 8 or 9 games, I think, still to play at home. That gives you, the income. But look, we're not. We've got no real assets, but we've got no liabilities either. I've made sure of that since I've joined the club, the balance sheet, there is still showing.
Thank you for answering that, Andy. I realise I sort of sprung it from nowhere, which probably wasn't very fair, but thank you for answering it.
I'll try to be as honest as I can, as you know.
One question I have, Andy, and again, you might not know this. But do you get any funding or prize money from the league? So the higher you finish, similar to like the professional leagues, the higher you finish in the league, no, you don't get anything. Okay.
No, unfortunately. But of course, this year we had a decent cup run, and that was one of my beefs with Tom previously in the previous 2 years where we didn't do very well in the cups. And if you are extremely lucky and you get a game on telly, it can make your season, as you know. And if you're lucky enough to go to a final like Gosport, and you see what they did with their place with their Wembley visit, it can be. So cup games is a bonus. Actual league, you get nothing. But in National League South, you do get something.
Yeah.
And the further you go up the pyramid, I was up at Burton, I think I was telling you boys the other day. And in the Championship, their aim is to get back in the Championship. In the Championship now, you get paid £17 million by the Premier League, Sky Money, etc., etc. And in the Football League, it's about four now, four to 4,500 in League Two, 5.5 to 6 in League One, and 17 million in the Championship. So that's why I have this aim, this dream, this belief, having done it at Yeovil, that we can get this club in the Football League. It's had a little blip this year, certainly, first to admit, and we just missed out last year. Promotion's so important. We have to get 2 or 3 promotions, get the Football League, and then we become a pro club. Becoming a pro club, we need a stadium as well. All part of the plan.
Lovely. So we'll sort of come on to some sort of future stuff a little later on. We'll sort of perhaps take a moment to look backwards a little bit and ask you how you became a director, how you started out, why did you want to do it, and your time at Yeovil.
Okay. So at Yeovil, I was a supporter, season ticket holder. Friend of mine, John Fry, came in and took some shares in the club. Asked a few of us if we wanted to join a board. We had a 13-man board at the time. Had no real cash at Yeovil at the time. I had a big debt. And to be in the club, you paid your 5,000 and you became a director. So it was 13 of us. So it was a very difficult board to manage, but we had a lot of fun in non-league football, getting back out of non-league football, back up to what was the conference then. And I spent on and off about 23 years there. It was just that really an equal passion for football. Your kids play football. I was a manager of an under-12 side, and you think you can be a manager. Of course, you never really are. But the manager, the pros are the best ones for that job.
So was that one of your biggest achievements then? What do you think was better for you in your eyes? Was it getting Yeovil back into the Football League in the first place, or was it getting them all the way up to the Championship?
I think the day we had at Wembley, I went to Wembley twice with Yeovil. We went against Blackpool and we didn't turn up. Chap called Slade was the manager. Played fairly, in my opinion, fairly boring football. And at Christmas and the year we went up, Christmas we were near the bottom of the table. And I met up with Gary Johnson's agent, and Gary had already been at Yeovil for a while, at least one visit, and got us into the Football League, in fairness. But it was going to Wembley with a population of Yeovil about 40,000, sorry. Turning up with 35,000 people at Wembley, green and white, day out, and then beating Brentford. And we all know where Brentford are now. And we beat Brentford comfortably 2-0. Brentford couldn't believe it. We couldn't believe it. And we were in dreamland. It was a really magnificent time. Getting into the Football League, believe it or not, was expected because we had invested heavily into the squad, knowing that we should get there, whilst it was a great thing for the locals and the fans and the players to get there. We'd already been full time with Dave Webb, so we were already a full time club, if you like. But to get to the Championship, it's a bit like Bournemouth getting to the Premier League, and aren't they doing well to stay there this year?
Was that the Yeovil team with Dan Byrne and Luke Ayling in? Was it that playoff final?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was. They were superb. And it was just a very well balanced side. But like I say, the side had been had been near the bottom of the table at Christmas. So to get to a playoff place and then win the playoff, I think we finished either fourth, fifth, or sixth, or we finished near just scraping in, sort of thing, really. And to win it was a magnificent day. Fantastic season in the Championship, so I really enjoyed that. Made some good friends, visited some good grounds, and it just sort of like inspired me even more. And I suppose that leads to how it ended up at Poole, but I guess you'll ask me that in a minute.
Well, yeah, how did you end up, Paul? How come you came to leave Yeovil and go there?
Long story cut, I could tell you, we'd be all right if I tell you the story. I basically made 4 attempts to buy the club. I had a big group of people together, primarily Yeovil fans, people that were under the current owners' noses, really, that they didn't realise that these guys had a few bob. And we made an offer, we shook hands, and as far as I was concerned, and Norman Hayward, the owner, and I had been good friends for 20 years. We travelled to many matches up and down, up to Carlisle and back on a Tuesday night and all those sort of things, and back early Wednesday morning. Shook hands on a deal, and we agreed to see lawyers on the Monday, and I was going to be the new owner of Yeovil. I had a great relationship with the fans, and still do to a degree. If I were to go back, I don't go back. I live up just around the corner, but I'm a Poole man now, and so forth. But so the pandemic came and went, and I hadn't bought Yeovil. And on the Monday, the deal had fallen through, and somebody else stepped in, and turned out to be dare I say, a terrible owner. And now the current owner is doing a magnificent job. So full marks to him. A bit like myself, he's putting his money where his mouth is, and he's dragging them up, doing a good job. So I was not thinking of a club to go to, but I just had a property in Poole Quay and decided just after lockdown, back 2021, I wanted to go and watch a game of football. I noticed my old mate Gary Johnson was bringing Torquay up to Poole. So I add to that I'd already been to Wimborne, was good friends with Ken at Wimborne. Dorchester, I visited Taunton, Weston, looked at a few clubs, Exeter, but of course that's fan-owned.
God, you flirt.
Yeah, so there's a few clubs that went round, and I went and watched Poole. Chris Reeves got his claws into me and sold me the dream. 6 weeks later, I'm a director, and sort of like 10 weeks later, I'm a shareholder. But that's how it happened. I think that Poole's got a great story. It needs a permanent home, and probably my legacy is going to be, God willing, that we leave Poole with when it's time to move on, we leave Poole with a permanent home and something to be proud of.
That would be nice.
That's how we're going to go.
That would be nice.
Is it different, the non-league, sort of being a non-league director to being a league director?
I would say that the non-league directors, certainly the directors I work with at Poole Town, are magnificent. They they roll their sleeves up and they do the work. In a pro club, you would, as a director, you'd be up with the prawn sandwich brigade, and other people would be doing the work and doing the turnstiles and all that sort of stuff. And you would just be entertaining the visiting directors and, just chilling out with a beer. But it's hard work, and it's Chris Reeves, for example, and Pippa Daniels. Both work really hard, as does John. In fact, all the directors work really hard. And I'm, with the football side of things, I'm dealing with football matters most days 2 or 3 times a day. So it's very different. It's very hands-on, and we don't have the money like you do in the Football League to be able to pay other people to do it. You do it for free. I don't get paid. Neither does any of the directors, and all the volunteers don't get paid. It's completely different, but I'm really enjoying it. Really enjoying it.
Good. I realise I actually stole one of Alex's questions there. Sorry about that, Alex.
Getting on to kind of like current kind of season, to say it's been the term like a Netflix series.
Roller coaster.
Honestly, if you put this into like a Netflix series or an Amazon Prime series, I don't think you'd be able to write it, to be honest with you. It's been very turbulent. Obviously, we're into the third manager of the season now, but can you...
Yeah.
Obviously,
Really
it feels like you've had about 7 pre-seasons in one, but going back to the start of the season, obviously, you relieved Tommy of his duties. Can you just tell us kind of where did the idea of kind of that came from, and the process of appointing Matt? Where did that come from?
We probably need to go back to the previous season where we went 22 unbeaten. In my second season at Poole, I'd made it very clear, and I made funds available to Tommy, that I expected to get promotion that season. We didn't get off to a great start. If you remember, I think we met Salisbury in the FA Cup and in the league. We met on the bank holiday Monday at our place. We lost, and we lost on the Saturday. And we had a conversation then, Tommy and I and John MacArthur, and I just said to Tommy, look, Tommy, I'm not here to waste my time. I want, as you do, Tommy, I want to progress the club. I don't want to sit in this league too long. I want to be the National League South, where there's a little bit of income coming in. There's a better quality of football. Football league clubs will let you have players that they wouldn't let you have in the division we're in at the minute. And we came to an understanding that, and I won't give you the target, but by a certain period of time of the year, towards the end of the year, I wanted to be in the top 5. If we didn't, Tommy had agreed that he would probably stand down to make room for somebody that could come in and take us to that next level. Tommy met that target brilliantly, and we got to the playoffs, as we all know. I think we finished 4th, and we had a fairly poor game, and I whilst I didn't say at the time, I was disappointed with the way we set up and the way that we allowed the kids to take penalties when the men should have stepped forward. All those sort of things you think about later on. So those things were bubbling around in my head all through the summer, and the board. We got off to a reasonable start, 7-0 away at Swindon, and I've traditionally the last 3 years always missed the first game. So whether they put that performance in because I wasn't there, who knows? But we had a couple of sticky games, and the one for me was Dorchester. But just prior to that, just take it back a little bit, Tommy and I got on really, really well with Tommy, and my wife once accused him of speaking to me more than she did, and we used to speak 3 or 4 times a day, very much on side. We both felt that we understood each other, and it was a good relationship. But Tommy had indicated, not confirmed, but indicated that the season coming up, if we didn't get promoted, could be his last. I'd known Matt Tubbs for a little while. I've admired him as a player. I knew he could coach. And obviously he was untested as a manager. The only reference I have to that was that when we found Gary Johnson, he had been an international manager overseas, but had primarily been a youth coach at Watford. And we know how that turned out. He took us into the Football League. So it was thinking that to give a young coach an opportunity to come in, not an easy decision to let Tommy go because he was a hero, and still should be recognised as so. 20 years at one club is a very long time. But the loss at Dorchester, loss against Dorchester, a team who we had absolutely slaughtered at their place previous season, beat us 2-1. Formation was not right. Players didn't seem right. And I just felt that was time. Now, you live by your sword, but at the time I thought it was the right decision to bring somebody new in, because we'd be betting someone in this next key season coming anyway. That was just a few, and we discussed it as a board and decided that we needed fresh ideas.
Do you regret any of the way you handled that situation in terms of sacking him when you did? Obviously, knowing what you know now, is there any regrets there at all?
Yeah, it's always easy, and Alex, it's always easy. But there's no nice way of relieving a manager. I personally hope that because I had a fairly good relationship with Tommy, that I'd been the one that spoke. I wasn't the one that spoke to him about it. And in an ideal world, I would have wanted him to resign and leave with respect. But let's just say compensation was agreed. Part of that compensation was that 3 players would be released. That is three lads that he'd been with for a long time. So that was part of the deal. I still speak to Tommy now and on football matters, and I'd like to think that we'd have a beer if the opportunity arose. But he'd love to beat us, and we'd love to beat him as we did when we went there. But he's basically a good man at this level. But with his job and everything else, and the length of time he'd been here, if we're going to go up the football pyramid, we needed another manager. Yeah, and I still believe that, and we're in the process of sorting out the manager out. Perhaps this time we're just taking our time. James is doing a great job and in a holding position, and if he wins everything now, it'd be very hard to deny him the opportunity to have the job. He wins every game. Yeah, but
I just kind of want to touch on something you've said. Obviously, Tommy was great, and I must admit I've got some wonderful memories of Tommy, and is such a nice guy. But also so is Matt, and
he's a true gentleman.
Yeah, and I feel when I've heard the news the other night about Matt leaving, I was gutted because I've kind of not really processed it really in a way. But yeah, I think it's just a kind of a bit of a whirlwind of emotions really when you kind of go through what we're going through. I kind of like it in a way to what Matt happened at Man United. So I mean this in the nicest way possible, but potentially like Matt was always going to be kind of the David Moyes, where it probably was the right man, wrong time kind of situation. It was an impossible job to follow. But just touching on that as well, Matt, I know Matt is a great guy, and Matt gave me a lot of opportunities at the club to interview him and stuff like that. It was always very good to my partner, Chelsea. So yeah, Matt, if you ever listen to this, thank you so much for that. And Tommy as well, thank you so much for everything you did as well, because, without those two people, I wouldn't be doing this podcast and stuff like that. So yeah.
There'll come a time when we truly, when wounds have healed a little bit, that we can truly honour Tommy's time here, because that will need to be done at some point, because he 20 years is a long time. 20 years. Matt came out of the blue really. I've been supportive. You can imagine it's a results type of business, and you lose 7 and you're thinking, oh God, we better not get to 10. But there was no pressure on Matt whatsoever. It was his own decision. I've had time to reflect a little bit, and maybe it was just, like you said, it was the wrong time for him. It was a bigger job perhaps than I think he anticipated. It's a very full-on thing. It's almost every day. Like I say, Tommy and I speak every day. Because James works for himself, I speak to James at the moment nearly every day, twice a day. Matt was very difficult. His job is in a classroom type environment, so he can't come out. He goes in at 9 and he finishes at 12:30 for lunch, and then back in the classroom to 4 o'clock. And when you need to speak to players, you need to be able to do that all day long. Even though it's a part-time position, you need to be able to do that. So it came as a shock. He literally told me on Monday night. Apparently he told his staff on Saturday, but he told me and the other directors Monday night. So we had to make a quick decision. Do we rapidly appoint somebody? He did offer to stay on, but I genuinely feel when somebody's and he wanted to tell the staff he was going, I don't think that would motivate the lads to do what they did against Gosport. So I think you just have to take your time. We're in no panic to appoint somebody. We will have somebody in for the start of next season for pre-season, and before the end of this season, we will know. You will know who the manager is going to be next season.
It is crazy, isn't it? I mean, we think about, and I've talked to the players about this, they obviously try and fit in a day job. Now, being a player is one thing. You probably do think about your game quite a lot of the time.
Yep.
I just think being the manager, I don't know where the mental capacity is. I mean, I have a young child and a wife. When there's a game on the Saturday, I think about it a bit. I feel miserable about it for a couple of days, or at least I have recently. The manager seems like a whole new setup. It must just be crazy. And as you say, if Matt's in a teaching environment from 9 to 5, essentially, I don't even know where the mental capacity is, because he must get home and think about football. He must have his lunch and think about football, and probably thinks about football when he's not supposed to be.
Yeah, exactly. He's got a young family, young wife, so it's very, very hard. I think the lesson probably that I may have learned, or we may have learned, is that you probably need somebody with slightly older children. And Tommy, this is where Tommy leads in a business life. Tommy leads such a busy, packed life, but he's a football nut as well. And so he always fitted in time in between. As people probably know, he's a top lawyer and a very hard working lawyer. And between cases and between seeing clients, him and I would talk, and so he had that sort of freedom of being able to, but he worked incredibly. And I honestly don't know how he balanced his work life with his football life, because even at part time, it takes over 2 nights a week. Yeah. And then there's a day after when you've been away to London, as you lads know. If you go to London and back on a game on a Tuesday night, you're knackered for work the next day. And some of those boys players have to be up in time for work at 8.
Putting scaffolding up sometimes.
Yeah. So it's really hard. So I think all that played a big part on that. And obviously the 7 losses wouldn't have helped him at all. But listen, that lad will bounce back. And he will make a fine manager one day. He plays football the right way. He thinks the right way. And a different day, as you said, Alex, a different day, another occasion, he probably would have suited the job. But he probably would have suited the job on a full, when you reach the Football League, when you're in actually living. And so you got more time and to spend with your family.
Yeah.
How is the new manager applications going? I believe you're closing it. Is it this week?
Yeah, sort of. This week we'll probably maybe keep it another week, but by the end of next week we'll have had coffee and met with about 5 people.
Okay.
And like I say, the not is the problem for us, not a problem for James, but. If James keeps winning, it's going to make the board's thinking very hard, because obviously, if the lads accept James and he's winning matches, how can you settle that? But there have been some quality people in, some quality names in, none of which I can mention, obviously. But we had a really nice meeting today with a guy who would be absolutely perfect for us. But like I say, James at the moment is holding the hot seat, and is his to lose. I would say, no pressure, James. By the way,
what's on your checklist then? When on your managers, when the CVs come in, what are you looking for?
I in an ideal world, and you never have every tick, but I'd like to think they've played football at a reasonable level. I never did, but my son-in-law played in the Premiership, was the old Premiership, fell First Division. And what these guys do when they play they see something different than the rest of us. And you probably pick that up, both of you, when you interview players. They comment on something and you think, I didn't see that. I didn't see that in the game. They'll notice somebody making a run off the ball. And you say, do you not see how many times he pulled defenders away? And you think, I didn't see that. I'm just watching the ball, and so forth. So I think they bring a certain element. Wes Fogden, for example, is a great thinker. And they see things slightly different. So a football background, for me personally, an A license, to me proves that you can coach to a decent level. That was where I felt, if I'm honest, with Tommy and Tommy's time, was we never really coached properly, and in Matt's time we've coached very well, but we've lost 7 games. But the coaching the lads have, and you only get the feedback from the lads, and the lads say, yeah, coaching is superb, and then they're enjoying it, and they've got to enjoy it, and they enjoy it, and then it comes into hopefully winning games. So coaching, and I would say now the other bit is a little bit of maturity. Maybe not someone quite so young starting out. Maybe somebody, in their late 30s, 40s, or whatever, but perhaps not in their early 30s.
Yeah, and would that be an appointment that you're thinking in your mind? That's a long-term appointment that will see us into the next division and maybe beyond that, or do you think?
Yeah, I think so.
You're wanting someone who's built for the
somebody who understands part-time football, and most of the people we've seen or in contact with done that and have got a full-time football background, maybe have worked and maybe still working in full-time football, that want us to progress in a year or two to being a full-time football club. That's where I would like to be in 2 to 3 years. I'm 67. Well, I'm 70. The target is, or just after 70, is to be in the football league, to be a pro club. And a great example of that was Ben, the chairman up in the Midlands that I went to see at Burton Albion. He's 80 and he goes in 7 days a week. And just walking around with him, he showed me the stadium and the design, and we got the old design. He's let us have copies. That's the model we want to use on ours. Should we get all the permissions that we need? I say he's 18. He's going around and he's telling people, turn the lights off here and shut that door and all this sort of. I pay 14 grand a month electric bill and all this. But he's there. He's 80, so it gives me great hope. Like within 13 years, I can be doing the same thing, walking around Poole Town Stadium, telling Alex turn the lights off.
You can tell me all you want. It's not gonna be me. It's not gonna be me anymore. You might want to give Mark and Gary a call. It's not gonna be me.
Yeah. Oh, they'll be there.
I don't know if you've watched some of these interviews before. We've done a mixture of fan questions. Yeah. There's actually one big one missing from here that will be a blind side, but it's okay. It's far from important, and I know Alex will want to watch it. Ask it. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's a nice question actually from Martin Smith. I'm sure you know. He just wants to know, in your opinion, and he says an honest opinion, what does the next few years hold for Poole Town?
Well, we've got to go now for back-to-back promotions. We want to get into National League South, be competitive, and get into National League. Plain and simple. If we're going to achieve what I want to achieve, that's what we're going to have to do. That's why why the next appointment is so important. Obviously, I'd hope that Matt would be the man to lead us through the leagues, but he chose that he didn't really want to do it. We gave him great support, and he just didn't want to carry on. So yeah, that's what it is. Exciting times. I like a nice cup run. I'd like to see us on TV. And obviously you can see the type of player we're bringing in now. We're bringing in, there's one I can't tell you about. You'll have to see tomorrow. Maybe edit that in. John is a lad who's 6'4" and coming in as centre back, and that's been discussed tonight, and hopefully he'll be in squad for Saturday, because we've got Toby out with a red card and Harvey Wright out with a red card. So Harvey's out for 2 games. But thinking about the games we have, we decided that we probably need another centre back in anyway, even when Harvey's back in, because there's going to be a lot of Tuesday matches, and now we're going to be in a semi-final of the famous Dorset Cup, and obviously now we reach the semi-final, we have to take it seriously and hopefully go on to the final. But got to get past Shaftesbury first, who are, let's not kid ourselves, are a good side as well.
Can you tell us a little about the signing process? Who primarily identifies targets, and then when do they come to you?
Bit of both, really.
Generally speaking.
Yeah, generally speaking, the manager will have people in mind. He'll have people recommended. Basically, the way it's worked since I've taken the reins on the football side is, and Tommy was quite pleased with this, was I do all the negotiation with players. He identifies players. I get players recommended to me. We discuss them, and that's what basically happens. Players that I know from other clubs will contact. Alefi was somebody that contacted me, and of course I knew him in my Oval days. And Tony Lee would recommend the odd player to us, and we just discuss it basically. But all the negotiations, Chris Reeves does all the contracts, and I do all the negotiations with the players.
Okay, so because obviously there's no scouting system particularly, so the names sort of come up and someone will go and check them out.
Yeah, no, they do, because obviously I know a lot of academy managers. At Yeovil, I was one of the jobs I had was academy chairman. So again, in my phone list, my phone book, I've got nearly all the head coaches of academies in the southwest and beyond. So they come if I say I'm looking for a left back, the manager says he wants a left back, I put the word out. The manager will put the word out, and we see what we come up with, and that's the way it's gone, really. So it's when you're a part-time manager, John, at a football club, there isn't the time. And one of the things Tommy said to me was, because he'd known the group of players for so long, they were like friends. So he didn't really like to talk money with them. So it was easy for me to do. I'd done it, and it's just one of those things that you're part of. I was a director of football role as such, but that's what part-time football's all about. Someone being responsible, and transfer fees have primarily come from me. So when we paid a fee, it's come out of my. Don't tell the wife. Comes out of her housekeeping, and not that she has that much housekeeping, right? But
poor Trish, what's she done to deserve that? So obviously in the last few years we've seen the predicted rainfall increase, not just in Poole but across everywhere. Gary Shaw wants to know kind of what's going to be happening with the current ground if the stuff that you're planning on in the summer doesn't work. What's going to happen as it's clear that with the sustainability of it can't go on for much longer.
No, you're right. So hopefully what we plan, this is why we talked to many years like a drainage specialist. We think it'll do what the job we need it to do. If it doesn't, a couple of options. I'm not against. A new ground won't kick in until, I guess, 28, 29, 30 earliest. Because with planning applications and all that, it takes a while. I would like to see us have a longer lease where we are, only from the point of view that then we can put in a 4G. And I think that's probably the way forward there. That would then become the professional club's training ground and source of income. If you can, you rent it a bit like Dorchester have done. Yeah. So I'm not averse to that, but you have to have at least 10 years lease to be able to apply for grants. So there's possibilities. By taking out a longer lease, that doesn't mean to say we're not looking for a new ground. It just says that we're going to keep the current ground for training and community use. So that's part of the overall picture, but let's not kid ourselves. We want a stadium that looks like Dean Court and looks like Burton Albion's and Hayes and Yedding. Those are the sort of designs we're looking at.
Yeah, just with that, Andy, you mentioned 4G and you mentioned putting a 4G in. I appreciate, obviously, the work you're going to do in the summer is going to be, a lot of money and stuff like that. But also a 4G pitch, it can also be a lot of money. Would it be not cost effective to just, would it be cost effective to, I guess now you said it's $1 million, it's probably, you're not going to have the funds for it. But in terms of, would you rather put in a 4G this summer and play on 4G for however long it takes?
If we had a longer lease, Alex, yes, I'd put a 4G in this year.
Yeah.
Definitely. But we've got to 2029. So you need grants. Now, you probably get 750,000 in grants. And you got to find 250. I know what we did at Yeovil for grants, and I know what they did at Dorchester for grants. And it is all most definitely possible, but that lease has to be extended. So those talks are starting to take place. We have a great relationship with the school to the extent that we're going to try and help them out, providing the pitches up to it to help with their summer fete, and we got much closer ties. The Kids Initiative are probably going to move up to the school for training on a Saturday, and we're going to try and help the school out with a minibus and various bits and pieces. So it's quite hopeful that we will get an extension on the newly extended lease. But these things, by the time you talk to the school, the education department, the local council, to get this current lease agreed, it took us nearly 2 years, I think, just to get back and forth with paperwork. I want to be a bit quicker with this. I'd like to think that we could agree something in principle and move on and have a decent lease. You get a decent lease there, we can get a grant. We can put a 4G in. And that would then sort. And you say, well, okay, about the flooding, you have to raise the height of the pitch, the 4G, above flooding level. And it's definitely doable there on a 4G, but we can't get it in this year unless one of us wins the Euro Millions.
Well, I haven't entered.
I'm in it every weekend. So if we win the Euro Millions, we'll do it. We'll do it this summer, Alex.
Okay. John, you stole one of my questions, so I'm going to steal one of yours. Mick Bicknell asks, have you ever considered a ground share elsewhere? Would that make financial sense if Paul left for Tatnam and shared a ground until the stadium was developed? Yeah,
that's what that is. Again, with this current batch of rain, I got on very well with all the local clubs. Hamworthy, unfortunately, is not up to size. Not the facilities are bad, just that they don't have enough seating. And if it's not yours, it belongs to Dorset Council. Therefore, why would you put another 250 seats in? Hamworthy had to fold because it was such a difficult situation. And again, they're doing well now, and they're hopefully bounced back, and they got a new seating area in, but it's not big enough for us. Wimborne signed up with Bournemouth for their under 18s or 23s to play their games there with their own kids. And I spoke to the chairman there, Tony, and they're good guys, they're good friends. But they said, Andy, it's a non-starter. I spoke to Paul down at chairman of Weymouth, and he said, look, we're having the same problem with flooded pitches and everything. It's not easy. So it would be hard. And I feel, for example, Dorchester probably, and the current climate would not be interested in helping us. And Yeovil's probably too far. They were probably ground share. And Bournemouth got in the Premiership. And why would they, with all their millions, why would they want to ground share with us? So it's very difficult to find somewhere that fits. But if somebody had, but it's not to say we haven't asked, because with a certain, certainly with postponing nearly 13, 14 games, is it, this season? You've got to think about that next year. But hopefully with the players we're doing, that's not going to crop up. And let's hope it's not such a wet winter as it was this year.
What's the Hamworthy? you mentioned their stand is big enough. What's the regulation there then? There has to be a certain amount of seats?
Yeah, it's going to be 500 seats. 500 seats. They got 250. So you'd have to have 500 seats.
Okay.
But that just costs money, John. And if it's not your ground,
oh yeah.
why would you put in?
Oh yeah, no, I understand. I was just curious because it's quite a nice ground. It is actually. It feels quite spacious there. It's in a lovely location.
Lovely social club. One we envy. And again, down at Wimborne, you look at theirs and look at their 4G yesterday. It was lovely, the main pitch and 4G. But just imagine that when we have that for Poole Town, and we will have that. I'm not saying ours will be better, but it'll be slightly bigger, I think, because we plan to have two floors, a ground floor.
So what? Okay.
Sorry, John.
I was just going to say, and you started to answer it before I even asked it, but I was going to say about the news you had today about the land and the development potentially with Poole Council. It's Poole Council.
BCP, isn't it? Ever since I've been at the football club, we've always been talking, and most of the long-term fans for 20 odd years have heard nothing else about new stadium. And to be honest, when I first joined the board, I thought it was a matter of months away, but councils move, elections and different people move in different jobs, and it's quite difficult to tie people down. But Richard Gale has done a lot of work in talking to people, getting the council on board. We've identified a site that we've talked about apparently for 4 or 5 years, and we are close now to we've done a lot of work on how that land gets released back. There's a lease on it at the moment. How that land gets back to the council. We've got councillors that are keen for us to go there to have a community football club. Where you've probably got a walk-in, an NHS walk-in centre, and even an NHS walk-in centre for a dentist would be marvellous as well. And it's going to be a 7-day-a-week community type club, where things are going on all day long. And Burton Albion was a great example of that. They reach something like 35,000 kids a week in their kids initiative up at Burton, and they got 13 or 14 full-time staff. So when Richard Gale and I went up there, Richard was blown away, because that's one aspect that obviously the kids initiative is something that Richard's very, very, very hot on and loves, and makes his reason for being involved with football, I believe.
And that's the sort of paradigm this Burton Albion. That's why you made the trip, was to see if you can make it work.
Yeah, because and they gave us a full tour and lunch, and it was just spectacular. And obviously, we tied up a little bit with their academy as well. So there'll be more detail on that at some point. But it was just really good to see a good blueprint of what we see us being in a few years. A good community club with community,
and that was built with their council as well as a multi-purpose site.
Yes. Yeah. So it won't just be about football. It'll be about many different community aspects.
Yeah, seems the area generally is crying out for that. I mean, I love the quay, but beyond that, the high street, there's not much for young people. There's not much for the people of Poole around at the moment. So that would be amazing.
No, and I think that it's just needed. I think Poole is an area, when you look, I've heard when I first joined, I think it was a stat that said something like we were the second largest town without a professional football club in the country. Yeah. And at Yeovil, we got to the championship, for goodness sake, on a population of 40,000, and in Poole, in the winter, there's a population of 150. Drag 4 miles up the road, Bournemouth, into it, it's probably close on 1 million. Goodness sake, we'll have a ground that takes 12,000.
Lovely. There's one we will, if you don't mind, before we finish, talk a little bit about immediate future, perhaps, or for the immediate parts of the season. But I know there's always one signature question from Alex, which I'm sure he'd love to ask.
Alex, looking forward to this one.
So, Andy, I don't know how often you go to Tesco's. I imagine it's more Waitrose. but what's your go-to meal deal?
Do you know what, Alex? It's probably very simple. My meal deal probably is pasta. Although my favourite meal deal we have that I always have at the football club is a ham, egg, and chips, and occasionally a burger. So I'm not necessarily a prawn and smoked salmon sandwiches type of guy, but ham, egg, and chips is rather nice with a bit of bread and butter for a chip butty.
So you don't go for the combo at Tesco's, the sandwich, crisps, and a drink for
I certainly do, but I usually send my PA out to do it. But and my other and my PA in Yeovil often goes to Marks and Spencer's, and my second PA in Yeovil often goes to Waitrose. You're quite right.
Just finishing up, I guess, and we didn't say we were going to talk about this necessarily, but the season has kind of gone the way it has gone. What do you want to see happen between now and the final day?
I want to see us
going to make the season.
I want us to finish on a high. Hand on heart, I've got to say that I never saw that 7-game losing run happening. I don't think anybody else did prior to it, and I think this is probably the big thing. We didn't really touch on it earlier, but with all the cancellations, we lost a lot of momentum amongst the lads, amongst what we did. Prior to that, we were doing fine. We were probably in the top 3 in the form table prior to losing those games. And I think we lost momentum. And when you I wasn't there, but I think both you guys were there for the Salisbury game, 4-2 up, 15 minutes to go. Chris Reeves and others have said to me, and you won't believe the quality of the football we watched. We absolutely spanked Salisbury for 70 minutes. Then we had the enforced injuries, and that sort of maybe proved the depth of the squad that it wasn't quite right. And we went on to lose. But had we won that and then gone back to Salisbury and beaten them there, and I thought at Salisbury we gave them a good game, and they probably caught us on the break after we just missed an opportunity to make it 1-1. And there were lots of games. The only one game I was really disappointed with, and I promise you one thing next year, is Tiverton. If we're in the same league as they are next year, Tiverton is one side that with Tom or myself for the last 3 seasons, we've never done well there. And I know it was a horrible pitch, but that was one game I thought we just didn't turn up and we didn't play well. And I know the squad of players we have are much better than that 4-1 loss we had there, because let's not beat about the bush. All the guys I've talked to about the job say, what a great bunch of players you've got, quality. So that 7-game run loss, it I don't know where it came from. So if we could just finish up on a 10 winning games, that would do me. There
you go. You can't get more ambitious than that. 10 out of 10.
No pressure. Guys, I'd just like to say that obviously the unsung heroes are the volunteers. And there are lots of volunteers, but the ones I come into contact is Gary, except for yourself, Alex, and Dan, and so forth, and people that help with the ground and whatnot. And this club is fabulously supported by those guys. And the support they've given me has been amazing. And you get your keyboard warriors who are nameless and blameless and all that sort of stuff. And sometimes I get a little upset. I think the easiest thing to do is just to ignore them, because I know that 98% or 99% of the fans understand what we're trying to do and appreciate what we're trying to do at Poole Town. And we're trying to drag it up into the Football League. And there'll be ups and downs, but we've had our downs. Let's have some ups. And I want to start next season on a positive foot and finish the job on promotion.
Yeah, I agree.
But we need the support and fans, which has been brilliant, absolutely brilliant. 600-700 here, and we're on a 7-game losing run. We had 700 here. on a Saturday. Unbelievable.
How much difference does it make? Obviously, this is sort of anecdotal, I guess. But do you find when lots of games gets postponed, the attendance is also sort of drag coming back? Do people just sort of just loses people's consciousness of it, I guess?
You get out of the habit, John. You know, if you get two Saturdays and you go down to Tesco's for a meal deal like Alex does, you know, on a Saturday, and you go to the cinema or something, you think, do you know what? I actually enjoy that, and I think people get turned off. It's about the quality, and you know, I mean, everyone's got an opinion, and everyone's entitled to an opinion, and there will be a case saying, well, you know, Andy, did you make the right decision on releasing Tom when you did? The answer is we'll never really know, will we? Because we can't have, you know, you wouldn't come back and rerun this season. You don't know. What you do know is you have to learn from what errors, if you've made errors, you have to learn from them and kick on and keep everybody on board. And you know, we're looking forward to a great sportsman's evening coming up on the 21st. And that's a great event for us. And, you know, sort of towards the end of the season, we'll be having, as you guys know, we're having our players' presentation on the 3rd down at the club in the old Labour Club in Poole. We'll have an event there, and we'll put the season to bed, having won all our last games. Put the season to bed and kick off next season with another permanent manager, and let's hope we don't have to change him.
When will you get a day off? When the season finishes, is that you'll be down at the ground helping with the spade? Will you?
Yeah, no, I won't. That's the thing, John. You don't stop. It doesn't stop. You think, you get quite a bit.
You can't afford it, can you?
I should bugger off to Spain for 10 days in June.
Only 10.
And then I'll be going in July, and then and I've already booked November in Tenerife, but because I hate the winters. I love the football, but I hate winters. I hate the dark nights and all that sort of stuff. But it's all, you know, it's the fans that make it worthwhile.
Yeah, something about your complexion tells me that you enjoy the warmer weather.
Well, as you probably know, I lived in Spain for 10 years, and you wake up every day and it's sunny, and you think, what am I doing back in the UK? But listen, I love this. If it wasn't for the football club, I probably wouldn't be living here, and my business, obviously. But you know, it is what it is, and we try and get down to the sun as often as we can. Wife doesn't understand why we go on a Sunday and come back on a Friday, though, Alex. So I've got to explain that to her.
Andy, thank you very much. That's great, Alex. Thank you. See you soon.
Yep.
See you Saturday.
Will I see any of you you be at the game Saturday?
Yeah, I'll be there Saturday.
I won't be there. I've had enough of shithouse goalkeeper.